Hey everybody, thanks for tuning back into my channel and for joining me again. So today I want to talk about something I've been hearing more and more. A young lady who is a acquaintance slash family friend came to me with an issue. I felt it was a good time to share that here as well because I'm hearing more and more of this. I've mainly spoken of my own personal experiences, having been married to a narcissist for 24 years and how that affected me, my family. You all know the story and it's in the book now too. So this is different ground, but I think I can still speak to it and speak about it. She's really struggling with the fact that her mom is a raging narcissist. She's extremely toxic. She's really struggling with accepting this. So we talked a little bit. I think initially, just like when you realize that the person that you are with, whether it be a relationship or marriage, that initial shock of giving this person this label and finding out who and what they are is rather unsettling. It's hard to accept. You now know it's an illness and that for the most part there's no changing it. And so there's the shock of that to deal with when you are a young adult and trying to accept this of your parent. Then there's the natural tendency to say, what did I do? Was it me? Why, am I unlovable? Again, that's normal behavior coming from someone who has been mentally and emotionally abused. And for some, it's much more than that. The abuse goes much further than that. Her and I were talking about this. She's starting to see the light. She's starting to see that more than likely she'll have to go no contact. And that is an extremely difficult thing to do when it's your family. When it's an ex, some find it easier. Let me rephrase that. In the beginning, going no contact is not easy for anyone. Your mindset is different, your thinking is different, your attitude is different, and setting that boundary is an extremely difficult thing to do. In general, I think it's an easier thing to do in a relationship setting than it is with family. I'll say that much. She's starting to realize she's probably gonna have to go no contact. I told her I am by no means encouraging that because I do know her, I do know the family, and it's an extremely difficult thing to do. It's a very personal decision to make, but I told her along with that, accepting who her mother is and that she has nothing to do with her behaviors is extremely difficult. I backtracked a little bit to my own therapy and how my therapist told me about radical acceptance. I gave her a little example. I was like, it's like going and sitting down in a restaurant and they tell you, well, you can have a poop sandwich or the poop soup. Those are your options. And, she laughed at that, but I'm like, that's basically what it is when you have a narcissistic parent or a narcissistic family member. You got dealt that hand and there's no changing it. They're in your family. There's nothing you can do. You must accept that that person is who they are. And if they have ruined the family dynamic, you have to accept that they've ruined the family dynamic and there's no going back and there's nothing you can do about it. There's no undoing the damage that they've done. The only thing you can do is put up that boundary and move forward from there. So we talked about the boundaries. We talked about going no contact. Again, that I told her that it was definitely up to her whether or not she was going to take that step. But if you go no contact, it's 100% no contact. It's not a little no contact or I'll only talk to them from time to time. Like a little no contact is like being a little pregnant. There's just no such thing. And you can't do that with a narcissist because if you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile and they're going to try to anyway. You've got to have the boundary. I have that boundary. If you have to go as far as changing your number, blocking people on your phone, whatever it takes to shield yourself from the venom, from the barbs and phone calls and texts, whatever it is you have to do, you do it. Because once you've come out of it and you're on the road to healing, if you let any of that in, you go backwards. And that's a very painful process. Going forwards here is the goal. And so I talked to her about those things. She is definitely seeking out professional help, a counselor, a therapist. This is such a difficult thing to process and to deal with that's the very first thing that I ask a person. It's the very first thing that I recommend you do. You can't go it alone. It's really, really difficult. Some people can't afford it. They don't have that avenue to explore as far as seeking out a professional. And that's why I always say, shoot me an email. I'll listen. Anybody is welcome to contact me and vent to me. There's so much to be said for sharing what you're carrying around and not thinking that you're alone or thinking no one else will understand. And because I do understand, you don't have to go through the process of explaining it to me. You can just dive right into your story and unload a little bit of that. You can't carry it around. It's one of the things that I know myself, I did for years. You know, I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't share my feelings with anybody. It was just this secret. I didn't want anybody to know. It's like carrying around a massive trunk full of stuff. And it just gets heavier and heavier and heavier. When you unload that trunk and you spread some of that around and you share it with a therapist or a counselor or a confidant, a friend, pretty soon you are traveling with a carry-on. And it's fantastic because you throw that sucker in the overhead bin and off you go. No more of this luggage weighing you down. It's just something you have to do for yourself. So her and I were having this discussion. I felt it's very important to talk about this because I'm hearing from more and more young people who are really struggling with this particular issue in this particular aspect. What I told her in our conversation yesterday was that if you spend your time trying to figure out why they are the way they are, why they've caused the damage that they've caused, why they've betrayed you in the ways that they've betrayed you, you will literally drive yourself up the walls. There's no point in trying to figure them out. Use that energy to focus on other things. Use that energy to focus on yourself, on your healing, on bettering yourself, and clearing your mind of the negativity that they brought to your life. Because there is no figuring them out. There is no unraveling the mystery of a narcissist. They're just psychopaths. They're not rational. You know, she talked about how when she hears from her mother, she pushes all of her buttons and says all these awful things. And I said, you know what? That is all by design. They speak in that manner and they push all your buttons because their intent is to hurt you. That's not normal behavior. Normal people don't act like that. Normal people don't sit around and think about how they're going to hurt other people or how they're going to insult other people or wait till I give this person a piece of my mind. No one in my life now acts that way. No one in my life says those things. No one in my life behaves in that manner. That's all crazy talk. That's just craziness. They purposely push our buttons. They know exactly what to do. They know exactly how to do it. They know exactly how to say it. Therefore, the no contact is what protects you from that. It's not an easy thing. The whole process sucks. Accepting a narcissistic parent sucks, but you got to move forward. You've got to move forward and accept the fact that they're not going to change, that you're not going to change the situation, and you've got to figure out how you're going to move forward in your own personal life without that person. That's really what it's going to come down to, because they're only going to get worse. I'll be back with more content. That's it for today. Ciao for now. Thank you so much again for joining me.